in 2020. Steven Kotler, a 53-year-old man seeking a fountain of Gnar, combined a series of modern science ideas to create an unprecedented learning theory on the ski slopes. In 2021, he asked ski YouTuber Steve to review the fruits of his ski labor and break down the righteous history of free skiing. This is the result. Anti-Alila switch blender, flat spin 540, trail in safety off a 90-foot kicker. 1 foot at 360 surface swap from Jake Mageau, transfers down to the DFD, pops it out forward. Switch double rodeo 900 Japan from Megan Holman, and a left side quad cork 1980 from Andrew Regatley. This is free skiing. While skiing itself has seen many transitions over the years, from slalom to moguls to aerials and ski ballet. New school freestyle skiing deviated from all these pre-existing labels when it emerged in the late 20th century. It required punk rock athletes to put their rationality on the sidelines so they could seek out the most amount of Gnar possible. Or as Steven Kotler puts it, freestyle means skiing backwards, sideways, upside down, but most crucially, it involves tricks. Hell yeah, it does, Rubber Ducky.
Cash rules everything around me. Queen, get the money. Dollar bill, yo. I grew up on the crown.
While Steven wasn't going for Olympic territory in Gnar Country, he still managed to land some big ski stunts. Page 48, he lands a sliding spin 540. Believe it or not, that wasn't Steven in that clip. That was industry ski legend Sammy Carlson doing a 540 swap on a wall ride. But this trick is very similar to what Steven actually managed to land at the wall ride in Mount Hood. Sammy's wall ride is just scaled up a few thousand times. It is a massive feature. Wall rides can get even more gnarly. 2021, Alex Hackle lands a 270 surface swap on a stray vertical chunk of Crete. That's straight up. Regardless of the professional ski clips, what Steven Kotler managed to accomplish in Mount Hood is nothing short of impressive, considering this guy has orbited the sun 53 times. I mean, your average 20-year-old skier spends half their time on the ski hill chugging beers. The idea of attempting a trick on one of the hardest features in skiing does not cross their mind, but apparently to a 53-year-old, it's fair game. And let's not forget, over the past decade alone, this man has broken 2 ribs, fractured his collarbone, underwent 6 procedures, and had 3 major surgeries. And prior to that decade, his body also felt a lot more pain. 65 hairline fractures in his leg. 65! And he's still getting after it. The amount of courage and resiliency you need not only to go back into sports after sustaining that number of injuries, but trying to learn a completely new extreme sport. Ridiculous, dude. So crazy. Now the Mount Hood session is just scratching the surface of what Steven Kotler managed to accomplish with a pair of skis. Page 67 lands a nose butter 360 at Kirkwood.
One time for my warriors, my last smugglers.
Considering this man has literally never thrown a nose butter 360 in his entire life, his ability to perfectly execute one on a natural feature is insane. It's called the nose butter 360 because the athlete is putting all of their pressure on the front tips of their skis, the noses of their skis, and doing one full rotation. Nose butter 3's actually very difficult to learn, but unfortunately they are child's play compared to this.
Sits in that number 4 position. Look at that style!
I love it.
So many big rotations. Oh, nose butter!
That's Matei sponsor doing a left side nose butter double cork 1980 Japan. That means he's spinning early off the jump on the noses of his ski, completing 5.5 rotations while doing 2 flips and grabbing the inside edge of his opposite ski behind the knee. And if you remember those wall ride features we were talking about earlier, you can nose butter on them as well. At the age of 53, Steven also taught himself a lot of other tricks throughout his Gnar Country journey, including shifties and lazy boy 180s. But he also had a lot of success, very painful success, with rails. May 2020, this guy has never slid a rail in his entire life. So a better place to learn this new stunt than an abandoned mine shaft in the heat of summer on a homemade rail. During the beginning of his journey, he hit the ground a lot, but a month later, that same resiliency earned him his first rail slide. Whether you're simply sliding a lipstick rail or doing a cork 9 swap over a battleship like Jesper Shader, sliding any surface with your skis that isn't snow is incredibly difficult. But life isn't fair, and to some people, rail skiing comes way too easy, so they take to the streets to challenge themselves even more. Taylor Lundqvist pops onto an urban down bar 50-50s the Hubba 180 out. Henrik Harlow nose butter 450 onto a triple down front swap pretzel 270 out, and Harold Hallstrom completely rids his body of norepinephrine. Unfortunately, the professionals make freestyle skiing look so easy. It's not. It's really difficult and terrifying. To properly appreciate this sport, you need to understand the number of trials and tribulations each athlete goes through when they attempt a new trick or feature. Steven Kotler's Gnar Country journey is a perfect example of this. He only managed to land one rail slide out of 35 attempts at his homemade rail setup. Every single step of progression in freestyle skiing is a battle, and quite often a gnarly one.
Give him the Iron Man award for the night.
As we saw in Gnar Country, simply teaching your skis to slide a rail can quickly become a grueling and lengthy process. First, you gotta dig down deep and find the courage you need to attempt your first real rail feature. You need to learn how to 50-50 a box, which means sliding it straight on. As simple as this looks, if you're just coming off learning how to pizza and french fry, doing a 50-50 on a box is a really difficult thing to master. Then you wanna get comfortable sliding a box sideways by pivoting your skis 90 degrees. Next, you gotta fully commit to jumping sideways onto a box. And then finally, once you got your balance dialed in, you can give your first rail a go. No way! For some people, this entire process can take months to go through, but once you have the foundations figured out, you can move on to more technical and delicate features. By page 100, Steven has checked off most of the tricks he set out to learn at the beginning of the book, but still a few remain, one of which being the safety grab. To do a safety grab, you take one of your hands and grab the outside edge of your ski underneath the boot. As the name implies, it's a relatively safe grab, but the risk can quickly escalate if you combine it with a switch double cork 1440 like Mathilde Grumeau. Switch double cork 1440 safety. In English, that means going off a jump backwards, doing 2 flips, 4 full rotations, and doing that safety grab. You can see she's grabbing the outside edge of her ski underneath the boot throughout the entirety of that trick. Steven's not throwing any double 14s, but he did manage to land his first ever tweak safety grab at North Star on the 42nd day of his season. To tweak a grab is to yank it forward, backward, sideways, or any direction of your choosing. It's like that little piece of zest you never knew you needed, but can't imagine living without. Any grab in skiing is difficult, even if it's just, quote unquote, just a safety grab. It requires the skier to be in full control, initiate their core, tuck up with their legs, and grab some part of their ski. But ski grabs can get extremely gnarly very quick. So crazy! That's Canadian freestyle skiing legend Vincent Gagner doing a bio 1260 screaming seaman double genie to an octo. Get rid of the trigonometry in that trick name for a second and let's focus on the grabs. When you cross your skis over one another so they're on opposite sides, you call that a screaming seaman. And if you look closely, you can see Vincent does exactly that. He puts one of his skis over top of the other. And while he's trying to spin 3.5 rotations and he's tangled up, he takes both of his hands and grabs the outside edges of his skis. That's what we call a double genie grab if you're simultaneously in that scream and semen position. And to top it off, once he hits 540 degrees in his rotation, he untangles his legs and grabs octo.
Wow.
If you don't fully understand, that's totally okay, but just recognize that this should not be humanly possible. Nuts. Now in Gnar Country, Steven did not throw any scream and semens. He was looking to preserve his ACLs and groin as any rational human would. But that's not to say he doesn't have ambitions for more complex grabs in the future. The end of the book touches on his journey at the bouncy house, where given a pair of trampoline skis, you can learn almost any grab your heart desires. In just 3 sessions, Steven's grab arsenal began growing rapidly. Among others, he learned how to do mute grabs, Japans, and personal favorite of mine, stink bugs. Look how sick that looks! But moving into the next ski season, the real test is to see whether or not Steven can transfer the skills he learned on the trampoline onto actual snow. Gnar Country sequel? We'll have to wait and see. If you guys want to follow Steven's full Gnar Country journey, you can pre-order the book on the website linked in the description. Plus, if you order before February 28th, you'll receive over $1,750 in peak performance training tools, all for free. That's a pretty good deal.